Morning, guys. We're out here at the infamous Palm Beach International Raceway doing our part and hoping to bring this back to the community. Morning, guys. We're out here at the infamous Palm Beach International. It is going to be a struggle. There's plenty of buyers out there. But we felt it's our obligation to do our part, walk the property, come up with a business plan, which we already have, and present it to you guys. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be, but rest assured.
Hey guys, how you doing? We gotta get this music stopped here. All right. So how's everybody doing? Hope you guys are having a good week. I have to apologize about last week. Guys were watching the show 2 weeks ago. I was telling how I was going to Ohio to move my youngest daughter to St. Louis, Missouri. And of course, when we got to her new place, there was no internet set up, and we had to wait for AT&T. And just with all the other goings on, I just didn't get anything out there about that. I really apologize for that. That was really good, really bad. So, hey John, hey Rick, how you guys doing? So, yes, that was we got that trip done. That was good. Good reminder why I don't live up north. When we got to Kent, Ohio, which is outside Akron, 7 degrees, and it was snowing when we landed, and I had to drive from Cleveland Airport to Kent in the snow, which I haven't driven in snow in probably 10, 12 years. So that was a hey Ryan, on time tonight. No worries, man. But yeah, so that was good. We got her all packed up, and then we drove U-Haul out to St. Louis. She moved in the Forest Park suburb. I guess it's like southwest of downtown. And luckily, most of the snow had melted pretty good. Highways were clean, so we didn't have any issues there. And got her all moved in. And like I said, AT&T was supposed to have Wi-Fi already ready in her unit, and they weren't able to get that going until Wednesday, so wasn't able to get anything going for that. So hated that, really did, but sometimes it happens. Glad you guys are still logging in and checking out the show. So we got back Thursday night. Friday and Saturday basically was getting ready for the FAST Expo. Rick says, "Oh, we're living the dream in the snow and the cold." Yeah, I bet you are. I am not a big fan. I knew I didn't like it, but boy, what a good reminder how much I didn't like it. But yeah, so the main warehouse chain that I purchased through National Performance Warehouse They have warehouses all throughout the country, but they originated in Miami. So every now and then, well, not every now and then, pretty much for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been doing what they call a FAST Expo. And basically, they get a bunch of their vendors to come in, set up booths with a product very similar to a PRI or a SEMA, albeit a lot smaller. But they have a big car show, and they select a bunch of cars to put inside the building. And so they reached out and asked me about the Cup car, and so that's what Saturday. My buddy Chuck and I took it down to Miami to put it in the building. For you guys that are on Facebook, you've seen that we had some trailer problems, but we got through that. Luckily, the panels that tried to rip off are the last panel. If you kind of imagine how the panels go on and one overlaps the other one, well, the front panel is the last panel on both sides, so it'll be an easy repair to go ahead and replace those pieces. Trailer's in dire need of some rehabilitation anyway, so just all that much more reason to get back on it. But let me we'll go over some other things. So obviously, between the family situation we had the week before and then moving my youngest last week, been out of the shop for a couple weeks and a little backed up. But on the thumbnail, I have Joe's 78 Corvette, and that's that car I believe he's had since brand new. We got that in the shop. We got to do some small maintenance things to it. I was really jammed up, and he wanted to get the new suspension on the vehicle, so he asked me, and I agreed to go ahead and let him take it to another shop that does work for him, and they did the suspension and put the Coda gauges in it. Ended up putting a sniper unit on, which I didn't know they were doing that. So sometime this summer I'll get to it, and we're gonna do heads cam package, and we're gonna put a cross ram IR individual runner throttle body setup on there with a Terminator, but that's going to be later. Right now we're just going to try to straighten out some of the things that are going. Hey Bill, how you doing? Congrats on number 7 drag week without missing an event, without missing a round of racing. 7 finishes. That's quite an accomplishment. Very happy to see you guys were back in the 9s again. That was great. I did get to see some of the runs, although since we were traveling, I didn't get to see the live feed. But we'll see what happens. My buddy Mike with the 67 or 66 Chevelle that I showed pictures when we were at the Cool Wheels show, and I built the engine that's in the car and stuff. We've had a couple little tidbits on the live show. He was talking to me yesterday that he'd like to try to do the Smoky Mountains 6 Smokies. So we'll see how that works out. We're going to give that a shot. Yeah, I saw, Bill. Yeah, you had a string of good 9-second runs, 9:45. I think that was a great performance. So yeah, so we'll see. I don't know if you and Don are thinking about doing the 6 Smokies, but I thought that'd be a pretty cool thing. Since I lived in Knoxville for a couple of years, I like that area. I think that's going to be in the fall, but we'll see. We'll see. Got a long time between now and then. But yeah, so we did the FAST Expo deal. Like I said, that was good. Made some contacts with some manufacturers that I needed to talk to, and kind of went down there late because we couldn't take the car out of the show until it was completely finished. So we kind of went down late and hung out for a little while, and got the car out of there. Like I said, with Joe's car, we got some it's running hot, and just a little list of things. Power steering's kind of twitchy, so we're going to reduce the flow on the power steering to see if that fixes that. Just kind of go over it, and so we can get some mileage on it before we get going on that. And just before I left, I tore down a 351 Windsor to rebuild for a guy over in Tampa, a guy Matt King. And so that we tore that down, and I just picked it up yesterday from the machine shop. I didn't get any pictures of it machined, but we'll get some for next week with the assembly and stuff, and I'll probably knock a video out on that. And of course, we still have Chuck's truck. They came in and did some cleaning on it the Saturday before we left. Didn't get the frame painted. Hopefully we get the frame painted this weekend. I'll get you some pictures for next week, show you that. And got the still have the Dick's T-type that's been up on the lift, and I've had so many cars in the shop it's been stuck up in the air with cars under it, so I haven't been able to get anything done with that. So that's kind of an update on where we're at in the shop. Got a couple tunes I got to do tomorrow. I got to work on a Cobra. Buddy of mine, Bob's got a Cobra Factory 5 that I built an engine years ago for. We had an Excel DFI on it. We took that off, and he wired up I think he went with a Dominator on that. I'm not 100% sure, or I think he did go to a Dominator. But when I go down there tomorrow, I got to drop the distributor in, put a tune in, get it fired up and running. I'll get some pictures and stuff on that. And a shop called me in Boca. It's got I believe it was a Chevy truck that's got a sniper on it. Needs some touch. So I'll get some video for that for next week. We can go over that stuff. So we talked about last week PBIR property being back up for sale, and now they're taking offers. So hopefully the price has gotten more in line. I had heard 30 million, but I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't call them because I don't have the money. But anyhow, so there's been some talk. All the racers have been talking about, coming together and maybe trying to put a group, an owners association together. Everybody chips in, get the place going. And there was two guys that were business owners in the area. They're talking about putting something together, but not a whole lot of what they're doing, just kind of putting it out there. But Raul from South Georgia Motorsports Park put a video out. I think it came out this morning or yesterday. And he's from Broward County or Dade County originally. He moved up to Georgia, bought the track, and has been doing huge improvements and revitalizing South Georgia Motorsports Park and getting really big shows in there. So he put a thing out on the news, out on Facebook, that he had some news about about Palm Beach International. So let me go ahead and play that for the people that don't have Facebook or aren't watching our area.
Hey guys, we're out here at the infamous Palm Beach International Raceway doing our part and hoping to bring this back to the community. The stakes are high. It's an uphill battle. We're going to do what we can. We don't want to deliver high hopes and let you guys down. It is going to be a struggle. There's plenty of buyers out there, but we felt it's our obligation to do our part, walk the property, come up with a business plan, which we already have, and present it to you guys. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But rest assured, we're doing what we can to help you guys and bring Palm Beach International Raceway back to Palm Beach and South Florida. Again, no high hopes. It's going to be an uphill battle. There are plenty of buyers out there, but we're on site doing what we can. Thank you all.
So hopefully you guys can hear Raul talking. For us locally, it kind of seems like the best bet for us. First of all, he's already running a racetrack, so he obviously will have business plans to put out for investors and stuff, that it will be, more realistic than somebody that really doesn't know what's going on. As you can see, he was at the facility, so they were assessing what would need to be fixed and what not. Obviously, all the grandstands are gone because they're in Bradenton. And the timing and scoring system, I'm not sure where that ended up. I think all the high-end lighting and all that stuff that was installed at the track is all still there. And of course, the entire drag strip, including shutdown, is all concrete. So, and it's only maybe 10 years old, so there's no issues there. The track's only been closed for 2 years, so you just got to get all the weed growth out of the racing surface and do cleanup and stuff like that. But I kind of think that you could get something going there pretty darn quick. And with his foresight, they got property to do other things. There's room for a mud bog in the front. You could put a motocross track in there. Just lots of different things. There's plenty of room for car shows. Obviously drag racing, road course racing. They got the go-kart track is still in good shape, so you can put go-kart racing back in there. You can go ahead and get autocross back. We were autocrossing on the road on the go-kart track. In fact, they were even doing some drift competitions on the go-kart track. So, and you do have a big parking lot that's made for skid testing where you can flood it with water and all that stuff. So there's plenty of things out there that they can have the place running. And when they redid the track a number of years ago, around 2010, they did separate the road course and the drag strip, so you can do multiple events at the same time, which would definitely help with the return on investment to get your money back from purchasing the property. So fingers crossed. I think that's probably our best bet for getting it going. The 20-mile bend deal is kind of fallen flat. We haven't heard anything about that in a while, and that's mainly because there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and somebody would have to go in there and actually do an investment and have soil samples and all that stuff taken on their own dime to even know what it's going to cost for them to build the facility. So the county wasn't very helpful there, so kind of weird how that all worked out, and it's probably going to end up dying. So once again, I mean, if we can get somebody to get the Palm Beach facility, it's already a racetrack, so 90% of your construction costs are already finished. You just got to put up a couple buildings. I think the timing tower for the drag strip has been in need of restoration for a long time. One thing that they do need to do there is get water and sewer in and get some actual bathroom facilities in there rather than the portalets that they've been using for the last 10 years. That just was no good at all. But that was, good. A good sign that somebody like that is interested. And, I don't know what his financial capabilities are, but I'm sure that with a proper business plan, he can probably pull something off. So fingers crossed. Just wanted to give you guys an update on that. So let me show you some pictures from here we go. All right. So here's our this was the display at the show. This is when we were setting up, so a lot of the other cars weren't done. You can see in the background, manufacturers were still setting up, getting their stuff done. It was funny when Doug and I used to have, when we were doing Racer Supply Store, we had a mannequin with fire suit on. We called him Bob, so this is Joe. My wife named him because the Phillips suit that we picked up on eBay is embroidered Joe on the back of the collar, so he became Joe. But yeah, that was the setup. I didn't get the numbers on the side of the car, but you can barely see there is a new number 7 on the roof of the car. Thing came out great, and so now I'm going to contact the vinyl guy up in North Carolina, and I'm going to get him to do some of the smaller stickers that need to be redone. But just keep making forward progress on rehabilitating all the vinyl and stickers and stuff to get the paint's in pretty good shape, so we don't just need a good buff on that, and it'll be good. But so that was that. So and we walked up to the car on Sunday when we were getting ready to take the car out of the show, and this was sitting on the roof of the car. Well, too big. So that was a pleasant surprise. Didn't know that they were even giving trophies away for display cars, and I knew they were for the car show cars out in the parking lot, but I didn't know that they included the cars in the show itself. So appreciate that. That was good. Car got his first trophy. There's a good picture of the vinyl number on the roof. You can see it came out pretty nice. And there's just a more of a distance shot. Wow, this thing is touchy. There, and you can see this was on Sunday afternoon. You can see the vendors had their booths all up and everything. They were all doing their thing, and I had a flat tire, but no big deal. But yeah, it was good. I didn't hang out by the car because I was going through the show myself, so I don't know what kind of interest and stuff it got. I did hear people talking about it, so pretty cool. I'm glad I was able to help out the warehouse that I purchased from. They were able to get a car in the show, so I'm glad that worked out for them. And so let's get rid of that. Let's go to Joe's car. So like I was saying earlier, Joe's got his Corvette in here. He's owned this car pretty much since it was new. So I rolled it outside to get some pictures of it. Just 350, but they did put a lot of nice components on it. Got some pretty good looking wheels on there and stuff. So I just snapped a couple pictures to show you guys what's going on. There's in the background is the 351 getting out of my truck going into the shop. But yes, that's his car. He's got a nice collection of cars, and happy to be able to help him out with his rides. And we'll see how that works out. I'll have hopefully finished information next show, because we should have it all dialed in. So, but I just got a short list of things. It's running hot. It's got a coolant leak. It's got an oil leak. I'm going to have to go over the sniper system a little bit. It doesn't run as good as it could, and we got to work on that steering issue. Check the alignment and change the power steering valve, which I believe we. Hey Mike, how you doing? No problem. And I don't know if you saw, Mike, we just went over the Raoul deal from South Georgia Motorsports on the PBIR deal. But anyway, when a couple of shows ago we were talking about power steering stuff, and I was showing the flow restrictor fittings that they sell for power steering pumps to help take the twitchiness out of some of the different gearboxes and rack and pinion units. So that's one of the big things we're going to be doing with Joe's car, to get the steering to feel a little better. We'll go over and check the alignment to make sure it's not an alignment issue. But I mean, he did have somebody align it, so I suspect the alignment is good. But we'll go over all that and give it a clean bill of health when we're all done, and then he can drive it till the summer when we get a chance to get it in and do the heads cam and fuel injection on it. But for now, we'll just get her going and go from there. Yeah, I mean, appreciate it, Mike. Wasn't a whole lot more than what we already talked about on Facebook. Just that Raoul is probably the best bet for the deal. That's all I really know at this point. But I'll definitely do some digging next week and try to get some more information. So, so the other thing, like I said earlier, that we were doing when before I left was another buddy, friend, whatever, Matt, came over from Tampa for me to tune his sniper and he had it on a he was a early 80s Ford F-150, and he had somebody build a 347 stroker and actually had a Terminator X on it, and he drove it over from Tampa for me to do some tuning on it. Well, the thing burned 3 quarts of oil coming from Tampa to me, which is about a 3-hour drive, 3 hours, 20 minutes, something like that. So obviously we weren't able to tune it because there's oil getting in the cylinders and everything else. It's not really worthwhile to do anything like that. So he asked me to go ahead and find him a new engine. So, well, let me step back. So he took the truck back to Tampa. They pulled the engine out because it had compression and leak down issues, and they found that the cylinder bores were all messed up. And unfortunately, I do not know the machine shop in the Tampa area that built it, but they did not do such a good job. So he asked me if I could find a 351. He figured that'd be a little bit better than the stroker 302 stroke to 347 for a more a work / performance truck, which he's right, because you got to run a real short rod, and the piston speeds are kind of out of whack on that 347 because it's a short deck engine. So anyway, I went ahead and found him this. This is a 351 Windsor out of a Bronco, a 96 Bronco. My buddy at Blow By Racing had pulled the motor out of the Bronco. Mileage was unknown, roughly around 150,000, and picked it up for $650, and it was what Matt needed to put a new engine in his truck. So it's pretty clean engine. I mean, not pressure cleaned or anything. It's just how it came. So it looked real good on the outside. You can see, really not even much of oil leaks or anything, which is surprising on these engines, but it was nice and clean. Looked like a real good candidate. So we went ahead and took it apart, and you can see in the valley, in the cylinder head, there's no oil residue or sludge or anything. So motor was really clean. Perfect for what we were going to do. And this is all the parts that he has from his 347. So he's got new timing chain, new timing cover, a set of AFR heads. So that stuff's all going to go on top of the 351. The block did need to be bored over the line hoon, or not the line hoon, the cylinder walls. The cross hatching was pretty much all gone, and when I measured the cylinder bore, it was at 4 thousandths oversized. So the motor had some pretty good mileage on it, even though it was taken well care of. But it was enough to really build an engine that would have good longevity. We talked about, and I was explaining that he'd be far better off to go ahead and put a fresh bore in it with a fresh set of hyper-eutectic pistons instead of factory cast, and in the long run he'd have a way better vehicle, a way better engine for his vehicle that would give him some service life, and now that he's using the truck more for work, then that's going to be a good unit to haul small trailers and stuff like that, but yet still be able to have a hot rod and go fast if you want to also. So it should come out really good. And I'm going to go ahead and start the assembly work on that motor tomorrow. And so obviously we'll get some video on that, and we'll show you what the outcome was next week. So one of the things I did get done this weekend before I went back to work and stuff was was able to finally get the LS Fest video done from last September. So excuse me, that was the first outing for the Cup car, and Ryan did note in the comments on the video that he appreciated that I show the good and the bad, which, I mean, to me, that's how we all learn. We can't be perfect. We're not perfect. And why not mention where your pitfalls are in your projects, so that people can learn from that. So one of the things that we've talked about this on the show, we had a fuel starvation issue with the car, and we had transmission issues. And actually, the transmission issues actually ended up being that the throwout bearing wasn't quite adjusted properly, so it's hydraulic, and you have to shim it off the front cover of the transmission, and we missed on that measurement a little bit, and so the clutch wasn't disengaging completely. You could shift the car pretty good, but if you tried to shift it in like trying to race or anything like that, trying to shift in with some speed involved, the clutch just didn't get disengaged enough to allow it to shift, especially being a production car transmission with no modifications. It really isn't made for speed shifting anyway. So that was a big issue there at LS Fest, but we did have a good time. And I did work on the part 4 video for the Cup car, which would be the transmission rebuild and the shifter rebuild, and doing the prep work on the red wheels. So I think what I'm going to do is on part 4 we'll do the trans rebuild and the shifter rebuild, and then in part 5 I'll do the wheels, and we'll show some of the vinyl replacement. That might be interesting to you guys. Good ways to get old vinyl off of painted surfaces. There are some tricks to it. I learned quite a bit when I was up at DNR, because we would strip the Comcast or Xfinity trucks whenever they would come out with a new program or new application of vinyl to their trucks. We would strip them and replace the signage on the truck. So learned quite a bit. Those weren't always so bad, because some of those weren't on for maybe a year or two, where like the vinyl that's on the Cup car has been on since 1998. So that vinyl is really old and crusty and hard. So but it does come off. You use a couple tricks and it will come off. So we'll go ahead and do a video on that and get that coming up in the future. So we're going to work on those things. I wanted to get a couple more. I've got a couple of videos that are close to being finished in the can. That hopefully we'll be able to get them out soon. So we'll see how we work that all out. But so that's kind of all we really had. I mean, I've been out and I've only been back in the shop yesterday and today, didn't get a whole lot of time to put together a lot of stuff for you guys. Definitely want to get back into a good tech section on the shows instead of just the updates. But we'll see what we can get done for next week. Oh, I did want to show you guys this too. We talked about this on a couple other episodes, when doing the Holly Terminator and HP and Dominators in cars. And I used this on Dave's car, on a Chevelle, and I used it on the Cup car, but I really didn't have any good pictures of it. So these are, let me find the camera. There it is. So this is, these are inserts made by Car Chain 3D, and what it is it's actual it's an actual ring with a step in it, and then it's got two pieces on the front to put your harnesses through. So this is for like a Terminator or a Dominator HP that would have trans. So you have your main engine harness here, and you'd have your transmission harness here. Just makes a clean installation for the firewall to make a bulkhead. And of course, this is just for a single unit, which you would just use for a single harness coming through. This is like the one I used on the Cup car, and this is the one that I used, similar to the one I used, or actually it's the exact same one as I used on Dave's car with the Terminator having the engine and transmission control in it. So these worked really well. The website is carchain with an S, chains3d.com. And he makes a bunch of different ones for OBS trucks and for Ford products. He makes one that goes in the factory grommet hole for the factory EFI systems. So that works out real well. And he makes a lot of stuff, different screen holders, and he does have some dash cluster inserts for the 6.86 Holly Dash and a couple other brands too. He's got some mounting system stuff, quite a bit of stuff that just cool to aid in your fuel injection installation. And before I started using these, I was just using a rubber grommet that either had a hole in it, which I started out with, which the wiring harness was never tight in. I didn't like that. And then after that, I went to a solid rubber plug that I would actually cut a couple slots in and have the harnesses go through, and it would just use the rubber to stretch out around the harnesses. But they're kind of hard to get the connectors through without putting a big huge hole in it, and then you put a big huge hole to get the big connectors through, then it kind of defeats the whole purpose. So I started using these, and I've been real happy with them. What I wanted to show you, see with his unit, you can take these halves out, and you have a large hole that all the wiring fits through without breaking the connectors or pushing the connectors through or anything. And then you just, what I do is I tighten this one up first against the firewall, and then I put the top one in, and then lock it. It locks in. Real simple, easy way to go, and it pulls down on the harnesses really nicely. So they looks like they have a good, I wouldn't say weather tight, but very good connection there, where it's not going to, it'd be hard for fluids to come through, but definitely good for like smoke and, fire and different kinds of fluid smells and stuff coming into the car. So just, always trying to make the installation as clean as possible. So if you guys are getting into any of that stuff, or you're just putting in other kind of electronic components, check those guys out. I'm sure you'd custom make stuff also. So there's a few people making different kind of stuff like that. It's just the one I found on Facebook, and I've been using them, and I've been real happy with them. He ships real fast and real good there. So just kind of giving you a heads up on that. I'm going to be using the single wire one on the T-Type, because that doesn't have trans control in that one. And just nice and clean. On that one, I could use the OBS style one that goes through the factory hole, but then the harness comes out way into the corner and wraps around. If you guys worked on the Buicks or the G bodies, the wiring harness kind of wraps around the AC case, and it just really makes it really cluttered in the engine bay. So I go ahead and put this right in the firewall, right at the edge where the trans tunnel starts to turn under, and that way the harness comes out off the back of the intake manifold. it's usually well low enough that you can't see it from the front, and just makes it nice and clean install. You can put all the wiring under the intake, and like I did with Dave's car, we hide all that stuff in there. So it worked out real well, and so I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. So trying to think of what else has happened in the last 2 weeks that we can need to go over. So I think that was it. I did have Joe brought his Camaro back while I was out of town, and again, this is just to be truly, honest and truthful about work we do. While I was out of town, he called me and said the brakes locked up on the car, and it was stuck at an intersection. It was kind of befuddled me. I wasn't sure. I mean, the car's got 500 miles on it. What the heck would have caused that? So I had him tow the car up, and I checked it out. And believe it or not, what I found was the Willwood master cylinder. We've talked about this in the brake sections. They come with a little plunger that goes inside the piston, so that if it's a manual brake system, the rod goes way inside the master so it can't fall out. And if it's a power brake system, then they put a little aluminum spacer in there that fills up the void so that you can mount it to your power brake booster, and everything's good. So we did that on his Hydro Boost. I've used these before on the Hydro Boost and never had an issue. But I think what was happening was the brakes were just slightly dragging, not enough to really you'd notice it. I mean, the car seemed to coast fine. It seemed to push fine. Everything seemed to be normal. But if you drove the car in stop and go traffic long enough with the slight brake drag, I guess it would build enough heat that eventually it would cause the brakes to stick. And you could use the throttle and push through it, but I mean, obviously you could feel there was something wrong with it. So he brought the car up. I took it out yesterday. I drove it 30 miles, and well, let me rephrase that. First, I drove it 10 miles and came back and checked the hubs, the center of the wheels, and they had some temp in them, but they weren't like blistering hot like a caliper froze or something like that. And it worked fine. It drove fine. I drive it down the road, put it at 50, knock it in neutral. The car would coast fine. I really was kind of concerned about how it did it to him, and I couldn't get it to replicate. But I was able to take it on another drive after that, where I did a lot more stop and go driving. And I did stop at a bank teller, and sure enough, it did it. And so I brought wrenches with me, so all I did was, I figured it must be in the master. The rest of the brake system is new. It's got nylon braided, Teflon brake hoses, so we knew it wasn't a brake hose issue. And there's nothing that really could cause the Willwood calipers to freeze up like that. So I loosened up the master cylinder, and sure enough, the car broke loose once I gave it a little bit of an air gap between the master and the Hydro Boost. So machined that little piston an eighth of an inch, put it back together, and it's fine. I drove it another 35 miles and stop and go and zero problems. So just one of those things when you guys are putting brakes together. And I thought I had done this, but maybe I did it with the brakes, with the master cylinder not bled. So maybe that might be a key position. But I always, before I bolt a master cylinder to the booster or a Hydro Boost, I always put it on and put it up against, see if it goes against the flange without any force. Basically to check the depth of the piston contact. I am thinking back now, and I think when I did Joe's, the master cylinder was not bled. So it's very possible that that little eighth of an inch, it may have just collapsed the piston a little bit so that I couldn't feel that resistance. So just one of those things, to remember whenever you're changing a master cylinder and booster or Hydro Boost, you're switching different components around on a car. A lot of times we're using components from different vehicles, mix matching parts. As my buddy Scott says, we're Frankensteining it. Always remember to check that clearance. Whether you do it with a caliper and you measure it, or you just set the master up to see if there's any load going against the piston. If you're doing it that way, make sure the master cylinder has been pre-bled, because that will definitely have resistance if the piston is too long, and it's going to make pressure on the brake master cylinder, which would cause the brake system to have a little bit of pressure. It's like riding around with your foot on lightly a foot on the brake. So just a little thing I ran into today. I kind of knew about it, and I thought I'd done my due diligence to not run into that issue, but it did catch me. So it happens to all of us. Nothing to get upset about. Just fix it and go on. And the good thing was the brakes never got so hot that the calipers were scoring or something, or the rotors were scoring or anything like that. It was just enough to make it sticky. So got that all straightened out. He picked up the car and it's all good to go. So that was good. So I guess that's about all I really have tonight. I hate to cut off a little short, but we're still in getting back in the shop, getting back to work mode here at Landis Performance, and we'll have a full week of work and discussion ready for next week. And I promise I'll get a good tech tip going. Well, I shouldn't promise, but I will try my darndest to have a good tech segment for next week. So we'll go ahead and I think we're going to pull the plug on tonight. I appreciate everybody that came out, and I really apologize about last week. I should have at least went out and braved the cold weather and used my phone and just put a notice on that we weren't going to have a show. But you get caught up with family and moving and building furniture and doing all that kind of stuff, unloading boxes, and kind of lose track of what day it was and what time it was and stuff like that. So I apologize, but we'll try to not have that happen again. So, but yeah, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and give it a call it a night. I hope you guys all have a great week. Fingers crossed that Raoul and company can pull off this PBIR deal. That would be awesome. And maybe they could work with some of the other groups that are out there trying to put stuff together. Hopefully one of them will come through and get us a racetrack back together, and we'll see what happens from there. So we'll give that some thought and some hope and stuff, and we'll go from there. So again, hope you guys all have a great week, and we'll see everybody next week. See ya.